Well, hello, I am Chay Long. I'm joined by Mark Griffiths. This is Dragonheart. This week we're going to be talking about the last two games, Wealdstone and the emphatic win at Halifax. We'll also be looking forward to another really tough game against Bromley on Saturday. But first, how are you, Mark?
Not brilliant. I've been under the weather all week, to be honest with you, but I'm going to drag myself through it. I'm channeling the spirit of Dean Keats with his broken collarbone against Newport County, coming back out and playing the last 20 minutes. Compared to that, the heavy cold that I've got, and it is just a heavy cold, I mean, I know it's worse than a broken collarbone, but in many ways, I am the last action hero, and so here I am.
What's the club doctor said? Are you match fit for the game on Saturday?
The club doctor says I should turn up on Saturday because he has no regard for my welfare.
Well, let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about the Wealdstone game.
Hi guys, I'm Dominic Rose and this is Dragonheart.
Wealdstone last Saturday was quite the frustrating tie, wasn't it, really, Mark?
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a shame. Wealdstone are not as bad as our last two opponents, but having said that, you do wish to get wins under your belt against teams in the bottom half of the table when you're at home. And I think everyone expected, having scored 11 goals on the road, that we would then be steamrolling Wealdstone, but well, it most certainly didn't turn out that way, did it? It was quite a tough watch in a way. I thought credit to Wealdstone. They impressed you, I know, didn't they? Yeah,
well, I was really impressed. Really nice pass inside. They had good spells of possession against us, didn't they? And they really did give us one hell of a game. But for me, after going on the run of, smash as many goals in as we have done in the last two games prior to that, to then go to home and then have a goalless draw against Wealdstone, not really look a threat on goal at any point, did we, really? I think the two best chances, well, no, looking back at the highlights, we had a good chance the first half. Their keeper did have an excellent game, but they had two very clear chances as well, and it could have gone either way, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they wanted to play out from the back, and we've consistently done well against teams that do that, and we've caused them problems. Barnet tried to do that against us, and we just kept dispossessing them in their own half. And at the start of the game, I thought that might be how it was going to go, because we were troubling their defence like that. But we didn't get that first goal. And they grew into the game. And that was that spell, wasn't it, after about 20-odd minutes where we'd been on top. And then they started actually successfully passing through the lines and getting the ball into our half. And then you thought, oh, we've got a game on here, because they actually were moving the ball well as far as like at the attacking third, and then couldn't break through. But you thought, okay, these are more than a challenge than you thought. We never totally got a grip on the game, I thought, after that. And as you say, in the second half, they actually got a couple of good balls into the box. And luckily for us, Reece Brown on both occasions made an absolute mess of it, so we would have lost.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the first half, what I kept on thinking was that Cook, their centre half, he probably wasn't one of the best players on the ball. So I was thinking, there's a mistake in him. It'd be nice to isolate and rush him down when he has the ball and force the mistakes. But he grew into the game as well, didn't he? And it was when the final whistle blew. It was very frustrating, but not also the worst thing that could ever happen. We're still unbeaten in a good few games now. So games like that, you just got to take in the chin. But if we miss out on a playoff spot or miss out on second or third place because of 2-3 points this season, we're going to be looking at the games like Wealdstone and thinking that should have been a win at home.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. You're saying about Cook. Oddly, he was sort of helped out a little bit by the fact that one of his defenders got injured. And he could shift to the right side of the back three with the centre-back outside him, which I think gave him a little bit more support and a bit more freedom that he could carry the ball without the danger of going through the middle of the pitch. And in the end, he was the one who stuck that perfect cross in that Reece Brown headed over when he really should have scored. So, yeah, sort of showed how they grew into the game just as he did. Yeah, like you say, hindsight's a wonderful thing. We might look at that point and think should have made it 3, but there are positives. Like you say, we are still unbeaten at home. We've still only lost 3 games. We've drawn too many, but it's still a basis. And we're still surprisingly close to the top of the table, considering the fact that we have drawn so many.
Oh, yeah. I think with our home form, let's talk about our home form for a second.
Yeah.
It's something that's not quite there. We haven't lost at home, I believe, this season.
No.
But we have had a lot of draws, and we've had a lot of, like look at the Dagenham game, that could have gone either way, really. If their strikers had the shooting boots on, we probably should have lost that game. But I think we just need that big win at home, don't we, to take the pressure off the players.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's pressure. I don't know what it is. It fascinates me why we have such a discrepancy between home and away. I mean, right, I think about it. We've had, 7 home games in all competitions now so far. And okay, we've not had as many home as away because of, different factors. Maybe that's a good thing because our away record's fantastic. But in those 7 games, we scored 7 goals. Only once in those 7 games, we scored more than 1. And that wasn't even in Wrexham. That was at Nantwich in the Cup against a team from 3 divisions lower down. So every other game, we've either scored 1 or last Saturday, none. And I've just got the table up now with the home and away records. And in terms of home scoring, only Kings Lynn have scored fewer goals than us at home, believe it or not.
Wow.
Admittedly, everyone else has played more home games than us, so you've got to be fair and say that. And yet, away, we are the top away scorers by a hell of a distance. We've got 26 goals away from home in 10 games, so scored over 2.5 a game. Next best is Woking of 19. And the next best after that is Chesterfield, who are 10 goals behind us. So away from home, we're phenomenal. And at home, well, finishing-wise, at least we're dreadful. I've been glad at least that the manager and the team are talking about it, but what is the reason, Jay? Because I can't put my finger on it at all.
For me, it's got to be pressure, isn't it? There's a common thing here. We're playing in front of 9,000 one week at home, and then we're playing away against 2,000-3,000, let's say. Surely it has to be that, and maybe the away team is rising to the occasion.
We've brought in these experienced players to avoid all these problems. And so I'm hoping that's not the issue. I'm hoping the issue is not players freezing when they're faced with with big crowds, because we brought in players from League One. We brought in Mullin, for example. I know, to be fair, he has been performing at home, hasn't he, against the odds, but he's fresh from a promotion campaign. We should be bringing in players here who are relishing a big crowd. And I've got to say as well, I just always think that professionals' mentality should be, I want to go out there and show what I can do. You get out there in front of a big crowd and you want to show your worth. That's why you became a professional. So I'd be a bit worried, to be honest, if that was the reason, because if you're building a team to go up the divisions, your first requisite is they're not going to be worried when there's a decent crowd in.
It'd be interesting to see the average attendances of Cheltenham, is where Tozer come from, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Cambridge and Hayden's from Carlisle. The average attendances for them compared to the attendances we're getting now, and the documentary crews, it's a completely different kettle of fish Wrexham is to any one of these clubs.
I mean, I accept that is true. Having said that, I mean, documentary crews are around for the away games and maybe a little bit more intrusive for the away games, and yet we've won 5 away matches.
Yeah.
I can't help wondering, and I'm not going to steal the credit for this. It was chatting yesterday to my lad Ben that he sort of mentioned this, and I thought he could have a point here. I think that when you've got a situation where the away teams see themselves as a chance to be party poopers, maybe they really love it and they're taking that chance. Maybe they're really relishing this more than ever, as feeling like going to Wrexham is their big game, and Wealdstone, for example. You know, surely they come along and they think, oh, wow, yeah, we're playing. This is a chance to give them a bloody nose. This is one of our 2 or 3 massive games a season in their whole career. Players who've come from a lower level, maybe they're only going to get, 10 or 11 games in for the crowds like that.
I agree with that statement to an extent. As you said, on the flip side, that bigger players from a higher caliber should be dealing with that, shouldn't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And also, sorry.
And you got to say with the Wealdstone thing, they missed. Their fans are excellent, by the way, and it was a big tie for them. It's probably one of the biggest ties in their history, wasn't it? Really, and it was their first time in having. Last season their fans missed out on the home and away experience of playing in the National League, and this was a huge game for them, and they did show up, and it was and fair play to them. They did all they could, and it was just we lacked a lot of quality, didn't we? And I think the crowd have a big part to play as well in making it a really intimidating atmosphere for the team to come to play in.
Yeah, but inevitably the crowds will dip if we're not able to sustain sort of entertaining home form, So that the fans have been fantastic. The support's amazing. And I don't think there's any obvious signs of it sort of dipping massively now, but we do need to keep making people believe, if you like. But you just look at the league table and you should be believing, because next Tuesday, the Oval game, they're on form. But the truth of the matter is that if you win that, if you ignore next weekend, win that game in hand, we're 5 points off the top, which is crazy. But it's great because, beg your pardon, I would certainly take 5 points off the top at Christmas. Goodness me.
Oh yeah, I agree. But if we also lose a couple games, we are also not far from 17th. Torquay are only on 18 points.
Stop talking like that, man.
You know what I mean? The National League is a very competitive league this year. Yeah. I argue, and it's probably one that if you look at all 5 tiers, all like League One, League Two, Championship, Premier League, it's probably one of the most competitive leagues. I think anyone from 16th upwards, if they go on a big run now, they could easily make the playoffs or what have you, really, couldn't they?
Oh, yeah. It's very much to our benefit, I think, that it's so competitive as well, because nobody has pulled clear. Because if somebody had pulled clear, title's gone. This time last year, Torquay and Hartlepool would have looked well away. But nobody's well away. We've got to capitalise upon that, haven't we? And to be fair, we did a bit on Tuesday. That was a memorable one, wasn't it?
Yes. And so after this, we're going to speak about Halifax.
From the heart of your community, Wrexham's heartbeat. This is Calon FM.
Well, Halifax, it was a really interesting game, let's say.
Easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fascinating. But let's talk about, there was 2 changes, wasn't there, to the Saturday's team, and it was Brisley in for Lennon, wasn't it? Which I think makes sense, because I don't think Lennon could cope with a Saturday, Tuesday with his injury record.
Yeah, I've got to assume that's exactly the reason why. Because he played well on Saturday, then the back 3 all played well on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. And I like Brisley, so I wasn't really too concerned. And then the other one, which was a big move, I think, it's a big risk, was the Jarvis in for Ponticelli. But I also thought on the flip side, was it again, Ponticelli struggles with injuries. Was it let's give Jarvis a run out and maybe Hyde's not quite ready as well. So let's give Jarvis a chance maybe.
That was a bold one, I've got to say.
Yeah.
I don't think it quite worked, really, to be honest. I personally, I wouldn't have left out Ponticelli because at the moment I don't think there's any injury concerns. I think he just had injury last year, but he's through it now. And, okay, he didn't score on Saturday. He wasn't given much to work with on Saturday, to be honest. But he scored in the 3 previous games. For me, I'm thinking he's earned the right to stay in the side and see if he can get scoring again. If Hyde had 90 minutes in him, which you're right, I don't think he probably did, then all right, okay, we're switching the strikers around and we know Hyde has been brought in as a potential goal scorer, so okay, maybe I'd get that. I wasn't sure about bringing Jarvis in. That's not a criticism of him. I like Dan Jarvis a lot. But I'm not sure that playing that system and then having a sort of number 10 is necessarily going to work that often. And that's a tough away game when you're asking the wing-backs, I think, in that system to get a very long way at the pitch to give numbers to the attack, because Jarvis will, by his nature, drift around all over the place. Mullen will be left isolated. And I thought that until we made the changes up front, that was exactly what was happening. And we were struggling to really bring Mullen into the game, certainly in the first half.
Yeah, I agree. And it sort of felt like they were playing Mullen as sort of like a target man at some points, wasn't it? Where they were just sort of, it was the long ball and he was chasing for it. And the 2 centre halves of Halifax they had his number, didn't they, in the first half? Or they had our number when it comes to Paul Mullen. And all credit to Halifax, I suppose, but he just seemed desperately isolated. And I think the first half of both sides, it was a bit of a boring, frustrating half, wasn't it?
It was a bit of a non-event, wasn't it, really? Barely anything threatening either goal. I mean, our best effort was Jordan's shot from about 30 yards, although, to be fair, it was very close to going in.
Yeah.
Their best efforts, well, they had the shot from the edge of the area that Lainston saved, but the striker didn't quite get hold of it. So I'd have been surprised if Lainston let that through him. And then they had a long-range shot at the ends that went wide. There was very little going on in the first half. I thought it was pretty even. I thought they had a little bit more of the ball, but we looked slightly more threatening in a way when we came forwards. But the problem is, when Mullen's isolated like that, we are going to be hitting, desperate stuff towards him and hoping that it'll stick. And that's not what you want to do with him, is it? So the first half was, something of nothing. But when you got a team like them, was it 7 games in a row they'd won at home? To be frank, matching them and keeping them well away from your goal is a pretty good, outcome when you actually weigh up the comparative form of the sides. Yeah,
I agree. In hindsight, now I think if we would end up losing the game, I would be a bit more frustrated. But yeah, I think looking at their form, and they're a good side. I tell you what, that Jack Vale, he's some player, isn't he? Really threatening.
Good old Wrexham lad, isn't he?
Yeah.
we need to have words in his ear. I was astounded. I know we're jumping ahead of ourselves a little bit. I was astounded when they subbed him because he was causing us real problems. And so thank you very much, Halifax. But yeah, he was very good. The tempo picked up, didn't it, at the start of the second half? And you could see that there was a chance that goals might come, couldn't you?
Yeah. The second half was a better game from both sides. I actually think throughout the whole game, I think Halifax were the slightly better side up until the 81st minute. I think they were creating better chances. I think, is it Slough? I forgot his name on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
He was causing us lots of problems. Vale was causing us lots of problems. Their left back, I forgot his senior, is it?
Senior, yeah, he played well, didn't he?
I think he had a good game. He looked really solid too, didn't he? To be fair, he was keeping tabs on our players. I think I think they were. They're quite clearly a good side now, going to be playoff contenders this season, aren't they?
Oh, I'm sure, but I wasn't that impressed with them. I've got to be honest. I thought it was pretty even. And their goal, ironically, came after we had, I thought, the best 10 minutes either side had in the game. You know, we started really getting at them. We were making chances. We went close. And just when I thought, right, okay, this is good, we've stepped her up. We're causing them issues. Jordan Davis is driving at them, causing them problems. Mullen's starting to be able to get involved. And then they've got up the other ends and scored basically through a mistake by Brisley, wasn't it?
The Brisley or Tozer?
Well,
I remember.
I mean, Tozer intercepted and played it forward, didn't he? I didn't think there was anything wrong with what Tozer did. Brisley's facing his own goal and he's turned blind into trouble. I like you. I like Brisley a lot. I think he's a good player. I think he's a very good signing. I
think Brisley would be better in the back four, though.
Yeah, maybe so. He looked a little uncomfortable on Tuesday, I thought, because Vale was quick, wasn't he? He was getting in behind Hosanna and getting at him. And he just lost the ball, didn't he? And then the man over. See, I wasn't as worried by Slew. I didn't notice until he scored, really. I thought the others would be rock solid, except sometimes they were getting in with Vale down that side. It's Vale who tackles Brisley. But I thought it was a shame it came then. And then just for a bit then, I started thinking, I'm feeling a little concerned now. You know, we've got, we've dropped 2 points around to Wealdstone. If we lose this as well, this is going to set us back a bit. There's a little bit of sloppy passing as well. And I felt that was the only point really in the game where I felt a little concerned when I suddenly, are we going to pull back? But to be fair, a lot of different factors threw into it, but we did put ourselves back, didn't we?
And the finish, I've seen a few people criticise Lainton online about getting Megs, but I think he needs a wide base on a one-on-one sometimes. They're just going to put the ball through your legs, aren't they? That's just nature of being a goalkeeper sometimes.
Don't make me rant, Chay. I'm going to rant now. I don't
Would you agree with me on that, though?
Oh, 100%, 1,000,000%. Yeah. How you could blame Lainton for that? I mean, okay, I'll not finish that sentence because people who criticise Lainton might be upset. But I mean, the sort of, if a goalie lets the ball through his legs, it's his mistake. When a bloke is 8 yards out, one-on-one with you, got to get out and you got to try and do what you can. And he did the right thing. He got out very quickly. He made himself big. But the truth of the matter is, having been completely exposed like that, if a striker doesn't mess it up, he will score no matter what the keeper does.
Yeah.
I mean, and the Slew did the right thing. If a keeper's going to make a wide base like that, best thing to do really is stick it underneath him. But Lainton is playing the percentages by spreading himself like that, and he got out very quickly as he does. I mean, that's just daft, isn't it? I hadn't seen people saying that. That's man, no way, no chance.
It's one of them. I don't think it was a very small minority, but it's just one of them. It was a goal with 1-0 down, and I think we reacted really well, and we got the goal in the 81st minute. James Jones. Well, was it his goal? I don't know.
I know what he's telling you.
It was his.
Yeah. Well, he's adamant and he's saying it's his goal. I think it is as well, personally, in that, he's driven himself into a good position. He's driven the ball in towards goal from there. I don't think he's trying to hit it in there for a cross. I think he is trying to shoot. It took a little deflection, but not that much.
It was his goal. It wasn't a goal. It was his own goal. He kicked the ball, but it was a sliding tackle coming in from the Halifax defender, hit his foot and went in. So it was an own goal, in my opinion. Well,
as well, I mean, let's be honest. In the Premier League now, in the Champions League, they're constantly, let's have a look at this. There was a tiny deflection. In that case, we'll take the goal off him. That's not how football's ever works. You hit a good shot from 30 yards out, takes a little bit of deflection, but still goes in. You score the goal. I mean, I said no. I think
that's all that matters. That's all that matters. He got himself into the position. He hit the ball, and the ball hit the back of the net, and that's the most important part. It doesn't matter how it happened. We're back in the game.
It was interesting how we adjusted things a little as well. The Parkinson went to his throw in the kitchen sink mode. We switched to 4-3-3, which I don't think that. You see, the problem is when we do that, and a couple of times it's worked this season. People say, "Oh, why don't we always play like that?" Well, you can't play a whole game like it's the last 5 minutes or so. Brian Hughes did sometimes when he felt that his team weren't creative enough, and it was mad to watch, but it didn't work. You can't start a team out like that because you'll get picked apart. But it has worked quite well in the closing stages when teams are trying to defend a lead against us, and we've gone at them. The Chesterfield game, I remember, where we ended up hurling players forwards and could have ended up winning a game that we should have lost. So I thought that was good, and it was bold. I was glad to see him do it. And quite frankly, Ponticelli came on, and I thought he made a huge difference. He gets the assist for the winner, and he gives really good support for the opening goal as well, after Cam Green has run it into the corner.
Well, let's talk about that last-minute winner. For me, it was all about the pre-assist for me. The John Davis, quick free kick, quick thinking. It was a beautiful ball. Ponticelli's position is fantastic, and it was an awkward ball for him to deal with, and he laid it on beautifully for Mullin, didn't he?
It was a lovely touch.
And, Mullin's not had the best of games against Halifax, but this is why we pay good money for him. He's there at the right time, and he scores the winner. It's simple as that, isn't it?
That's exactly it, isn't it? I thought he did well in the second half, Mullin. He's getting more on the ball, but essentially, he's had 2 chances around the edge of the area. He's hit the bottom left corner with both of them. One of them has been saved. The other one's gone in. That's the quality that he has, isn't it? He'll just he will deliver. And also, we're talking about people rising to the occasion. Well, he scored 3 of those 5 goals at the racecourse. Digging us out of trouble sometimes. And he's not shrinking there, is he? And there, 92nd minute chance to win it. He hits the bottom corner. He doesn't panic. He drills it with power and accuracy. I like Mullin. I do have a little criticism of him, though. I'm going to be controversial in a second. Brace yourself.
I've bought a Paul Mullin mug, and we've not lost since then. So I keep on drinking out that Paul Mullin mug before every game, like I have been doing.
Good man. But I've got to say, I wasn't much of a fan of the celebration. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a wonderful moment, and I loved him getting in with the fans and everything like that. That's fantastic. That's what football's all about. Oh, but why did he take his shirt off? And the interview now he's given is saying that he pre-planned it. Well, it's a yellow card. He's on 3 yellows now, and
I know.
But I don't want him getting suspended.
I know you're thinking about it
now to avoid 2 yellows. So we could miss him for a couple of games or a game because of it. Don't do it.
I agree, but it was an iconic moment, wasn't it? That sort of thing looks pretty cool.
If you're Cristiano Ronaldo, I do understand that you spend 17 hours a day working on your body and you want to show it off. I do understand that. I'm not saying Paul Mullin isn't Cristiano Ronaldo, because he is, but except he's younger and better. But when he took his shirt off to celebrate, he had a bra on. That's not the look he was going for, was it?
I see where you're coming from, but I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool, and to see the limbs in the away end.
Oh yeah.
It was amazing fans. I gotta say, Wrexham fans are some of the best in the country, easily. To bring that many away to a game in Yorkshire, which is a fair amount of travel on a Tuesday night.
Well, the M16 is a nightmare for these midweek games. You always end up having at Halifax anyway, isn't it?
Oh, and the traffic and everything, and the amount we've had there, and the atmosphere sounded amazing and looked amazing. We really truly have a special fan base, and especially for this level.
Oh yeah, and I like to see Phil Parkinson and Paul Mullen both talking about how, and James Jones, about how the crowd made a difference when we went behind. And that was brilliant, because we did see on Saturday some boos at half-time. Maybe that wasn't that many people, but quite a lot of booing at full-time. But it was brilliant to see that at Halifax, when you go behind, after that Wealdstone game, the fans just made a difference, just rallying around them and raising them up to fight back. And the fans got the reward they deserved. It was wonderful to see that.
Oh, yeah, it was. And it was great watching it. And I had the pleasure of commentating it. And it was just, yeah, that was a real, let's say, a real moment, I think, that can really push on our season. You know, getting 2 late goals to win a game at a really tough ground against a really good side. We could do this against anyone. We have the quality here.
Well, I mean, you talked about needing a statement win at home, and you talk about Mullen's goal being an iconic moment. To be fair to this team, we're erratic, but they've actually delivered quite a few statement wins and quite a few dramatic, excellent moments too. It is frustrating at the moment that it's not quite clicking right. The consistency isn't there, but this team's providing some really good moments that if it can click, like I said, if we give me us 5 points off the top around Christmas, because we do look like a side who, well, obviously we're going to spend some money in January anyway, but the players we've got anyway, they do look like they could click and really start battering teams.
And I think once we go on a mad run, we're going to be a really scary side to play against, which will be fun, because we have some really, really quality players. And the one thing I do worry about is Paul Mullen. He's quite clearly too good for this level. If we don't get promoted, there's going to be clubs of a higher caliber going in for him, isn't there?
Absolutely. I think I don't want to panic too. He's in a 3-year contract, so
they have to pay good money.
Team's very happy. But it makes me feel like a lot of these big signings, I mean, if we're not up in 2 years, certainly, I think they'd have to be looking at that and thinking, do I need to commit myself any further here? But that's long term. It depends on the personality as well. He seems very happy at the moment. And he's certainly performing, isn't he? Goodness me.
Oh, yeah. Him and Shamanga Chesterfield are 2 players I think just shouldn't be playing at this level. They're too good.
You might be saying Michael Cheek as well. We'll talk about him later after Saturday. Your favourite players at our level, but we'll get to him in a sec.
Oh, Cheek is one hell of a player, to be fair, isn't he? We will get to him in a sec. But, yeah, and I think one glittering performance that I really enjoyed from our player, who was fantastic for the whole 90 minutes, was Aaron Hayden. He was our man of the match on commentary, and I thought he looked very solid that game.
I really enjoy Hayden. He had a mistake in him earlier in the season, but he doesn't seem to now. I just love his aggression and his physicality. And that's why I was saying Slew on the other side, I didn't think was causing problems down there. Hall Johnson had a good game, and that was pleasing. He's got through 290 minutes in 4 days, so he looks to be back, back as he should be. He and Hayden had that side of the back completely tied down. I thought they were rock solid, really good.
He's an excellent centre half, isn't he, Hayden? And I think he's so dangerous off set pieces, attacking as well. He just springs in the air, doesn't he? He's in fantastic shape, quite clearly. And, yeah, he's just deadly, and he's fantastic with the ball at his feet. He's fast. He's a very modern centre-half, and I really enjoy him. I really enjoy him playing for Wrexham. I think he was amazing on Tuesday. Because there was that little bit where their striker, I forgot his name now.
Waters?
He was on the end. He had the ball at the 6-yard box, didn't he? Hayden shielding him from taking a shot, and he was just excellent defending.
He did that a few times, I thought, in and around the box, just staying on his feet. And you think, oh, God, this guy's running at him. And he just stays calm, stays on his feet, takes the ball off him without much fuss. I mean, he is... I mean, I know I keep seeing it this way, that those last 4 signings, apart from Bryce Susanna, I rate him a lot. I'm not putting him in the same category. Mullen leads to Hayden, leads to Tozer, leads to Jones. you bring 4 players in from 2 divisions above, and they're all statement signings, and the idea is they are too good for our division. Well, I think Mullen, no question, he's too good for our division. Tozer, I would put in that category as well, in terms of he's just rock solid and he uses the ball well. And Hayden has had the odd little moments, but in many ways he looks quite dramatically too good for our level, the way he handles dangerous strikers like that. Jones has been up and down, but I've got to say, I wrote in the Leader on Friday about how delighted I was to see Jones was outstanding in 3 away games in a row after having a dip of form. Then he played quite poorly on Saturday against Wealdstone. I thought, a kiss of death. But I thought he did really well on Tuesday. Apart from his goal, his work rate again was excellent. And I think I think he's been a bit erratic, but you can see in a lot of his play why we brought him in as a player who can play at higher levels.
Oh, yeah, I 100% agree. And I think he needed a good performance on Tuesday, because I think the fans would be getting on his back if he didn't. Because in my opinion, Saturday against Wealdstone, he was poor, wasn't he? Let's not beat around the bush. But unfortunately, we don't really have much depth in the midfield at the moment, do we? So it's hard to drop either Young, Davis, or Jones, really, isn't it?
I mean, he started the season very well, I thought. And I mean, it is, at that point in the season, after a couple of games, if you told me he wouldn't score his first goal until this week, I'd have been surprised, because in the early stages, when he was playing on top of his game, he was getting into those shooting positions and hitting it really well from around 20, 25 yards. And remember, he had the goal disallowed against Notts County.
Shouldn't have had.
So he's been unlucky in that regard, but his form did dip a bit. It has improved a lot. And Saturday notwithstanding, he's carried out on Tuesday. So that was great. Did you see the Halifax manager, Pete Wild's comments after the game?
Yeah, it was very salty, wasn't it?
Very well. I mean, God bless him. He must have been having some sort of out-of-body experience at that match, because he certainly didn't experience the same game as anyone else did. I mean, God, talk about sour grapes. Bless him.
Yeah, it was very salty, wasn't it?
We've dominated the game from start to finish, with and without the ball. Okay, well, I'm interested in the idea of dominating the game when you haven't got the ball. But okay, we'll leave that aside for a moment. If neither side dominated that game, I thought we were slightly better. You think they were slightly better? I think we're both.
You could argue either way, couldn't you?
Yeah, it was an even.
You could argue either way. Yeah, I wouldn't say dominating. No, there was no domination at all. But, well, we smashed and grabbed it with a quality striker at the last minute. Get over it.
We've made them look distinctly average with all the money and all the clout they've got, and we've basically run them off the park tonight. Wow. They ran us off the park. And you know what? It's a sign of a good team when they can run you off the park and you don't even notice you've been run off the park because you feel comfortable.
We didn't get run off the park, though, did we? So
somehow they had 2 shots at goal and scored 2 goals. Okay. Well, Sam Johnson made a decent save from Mullen. So that's at least 3. Okay. How many saves did they take? 1. I mean, it's ludicrous.
It's okay to be upset after losing a football game in that fashion, isn't it? It is what it is. He's just being very salty, very sour grapes there, isn't it? It's just get over it, be a bit more professional.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't impressive, that was it? I don't know. Anyway, fantastic win. Really good performance.
Fantastic win.
We'll take that.
Yeah, great to see the fans. Great to see the limbs when Mullen scored. It's always nice to see that, and I was very jealous of every fan who was there. I wish I was there. It was excellent to see, and hopefully can kick off our season with
absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, Mum.
And we have a really tough game coming this Saturday in Bromley.
I'm Harry Lennon, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, Bromley, we have a really another tough task in another playoff contender in Bromley and at the racecourse against Bromley, and it's just going to be. Let's hope it is that home win that we've all been looking for because I think the fans really need it. But first, let's talk about what 11 would you pick against this side?
I'd go 2 up top. Sorry, Dan, but I don't think in this formation I'd want him as a second striker. I'd use him somewhere else. And so I think I'd probably go Leighton in goal. I'd like Lennon to be back. He's had a rest. I'd like him back in. So I think Hayden, Tozer and Lennon at the back. Your wing backs, well, on the right, Hall Johnson. On the left, I mean, Hosanna took a knock on Saturday and was knocked around a bit again on Tuesday. So that's an interesting point, whether they might give Green a chance because he did well off the bench. I think if Hosanna's fit, he probably sticks with him. Midfield the same, Davis, Young and Jones. And then up front, I'd be inclined to have Ponticelli alongside Mullen. And like I said, I think he's unlucky to get left out last Tuesday, and he came off the bench and he did really well. So for my money, give him another opportunity. What's your thinking?
If Hosanna has taken a knock, then I think you do start Cameron Green. I think he's warranted a start at some point. I think he's looked good when he's come on. He looked good when he come on the other day against Halifax. He's very free flowing. He's very good at free flowing football, isn't he? You can tell he's trained at a higher level. Because I remember at one point he passed the ball down to the wing to Reece Johnson and actually went down the right hand side with him. Yeah, at one point, and that was really, I really liked that. It was really progressive play. I'd like to see Cameron Green have a chance. Also, wouldn't be too disgruntled if Jamie Recko come back in if he's fit. I tend to agree with that starting 11, unless Jake Hyde is actually fit to start again now, which would be. I would like to see Jake Hyde start again because I thought he's had an excellent start to the season too.
Yeah, a fair comment, that. And it'd be interesting.
Ponticelli looks good when he comes on off the bench as well, doesn't he?
True. It'd be interesting as well. Something that interests me about the way that Bromley play, they're quite attack-minded to get players forwards. And as their right-sided centre-back, they've got Joe Partington, you'll remember last season, was playing for Eastleigh as a very attack-minded wing-back. In fact, he scored 3 goals in the 2 games against us. And obviously, look at the results they're getting. Clearly, he's capable of playing, in a central defensive position. But I wonder if he would enjoy, if we could get Jake Hyde on him being physical, would that cause him an issue, perhaps? Well, it'd be worth trying it and finding out. But I still say Ponticelli's earned his chance, and I think you got to pick your teams based on who's earned opportunities. He was unlucky to get dropped. He responded well to getting dropped by making a difference when he came back on. So for me, I just start with him.
Yeah, I be honest with you, I wouldn't argue with any of the strikers. To be fair, I think Ponticelli, Hyde, they both bring different things, but equally as good things to the table. So either one, I'd be happy, but I wouldn't mind seeing Hyde start again and maybe bringing Ponticelli off the bench if things aren't working.
Well, you've been in touch with Bromley fans, haven't you, to get a bit of a sense of what they think about their team?
Yes, I have. I've asked who their key players are, and both of the Bromley fans I've got in touch with both said Michael Cheek first thing straight away, which is no shock, is it?
No. Well, he's a class act, isn't he? I was looking at his record. Was it 2014? In January 2014, he goes to Chelmsford. So that's his first time he's got up as far as the 6th tier. And he scores 10 goals and 10 starts for them in half a season. And then since then, every single season, he's got into double figures. He got 23 in the league last year. This year, he's already got 13. Only Shamanga's higher than him. He's a quality striker. He can drive down the channels. He's big and strong, can win it in the air. He can shoot with both feet. It does amaze me that he's not had a chance in the Football League, I've got to say. He's a fine striker. And, we need to get that back 3 right against him. Yeah.
You have to be at your best when you're playing Michael Cheek. He is one hell of a player. He was one at the start of this season, we didn't really have a squad. I said I'd really like for him to come sign for us.
Yeah.
He's quality. And the other ones that have come up is Billy Bingham and Harry Foster. Do you know much about them?
Bingham plays centre mid, so they play free at the back as well as us.
Yeah.
Bingham plays centre mid, and he's busy. He uses the ball well. They have, like I said, they'll drive players forwards into quite advanced positions from midfield sometimes as well. Maybe Bingham not as much as a couple of the others, but Bingham's a good sort of quality controlling midfielder, and then Forster's a wing back. And like I said, they're very progressive. I mean, they've got Partington as a right-sided centre-back. They've got Forster, who can play either side, but usually plays on the left, and he gets very high up the pitch, and he's quick. And then on the other side, they've got Luke Coulson, who's, again, one of the more creative players, frankly, in our division, and they're playing him as a wing-back. He can be really threatening, really dangerous. And, so that's a really impressive sort of hand to play in terms of going forwards. And as well as Cheek up front, they have a couple of other decent players like Dennis, who's quick, or Alexander, who can get in behind. And they've also got the old Chester target man, James Allaby. So they could play Allaby and Cheek up there and knock us around a bit physically. Or they could use Cheek and have pacey strikers as well, trying to stretch us and creating space. Because Cheek, like I said, can drive into the channels. He can also get the ball around the edge of the D and hit the ball really well. So he's dangerous in that sense too. So they pack quite an attacking threat, to be honest.
Yeah, they're talking to their fans. One of their fans, they like to get the ball down and play quite nice football too, don't they? So.
Another reason why I'd favour Ponticelli as well, because he does help with the press. And if they've got ball-playing players at the back who can bring the ball out from the back, Ponticelli is good at closing players down, good work rate. So I sort of quite like the idea from that point of view as well of, causing them problems as they try to start their moves.
100% agree. And that's actually a really good shout. Yeah, can't argue with that one. Ponticelli would be a good one to start for this game. But again, like I said, I won't be too fussed which either one of our strikers starts. I think we have got quality in that area of the pitch. They have a good manager too, don't they, Bromley? Is it Andy Woodman?
Yeah.
Their fans seem quite happy with him, to be fair. A lot of them, they both said that he's professionalised the club a little bit since he's come in. And they seem really happy with him, and they're in a good position at the moment, aren't they?
It was a bold move, if you remember, last season when they got rid of, I want to say Neil Smith. Have I got his first name wrong? He was a long-standing manager and had done really well for them. He took them up into that level, and he sort of thought, "Gosh, why have you removed him? He's a club legend." Yeah. But to be fair, well, actually, I say to be fair, they got rid of him, and then they came to the racecourse, and their first game without him, they really looked terrible, and we battered them 3-0. They looked really lost, and you thought, well done. You were up on the edge of the playoffs, you sacked your iconic manager, and now you're going to fall apart. But they didn't, did they? They did finish the season pretty well, and they started this season brilliantly. Through September, October, they had a run of 7 consecutive wins. And, I mean, they're in a great position, aren't they? 4th position. And with a game in hand on all the teams above them. This is a proper strong team we've got here. This is a real test.
Oh, 100%. But their form's been a bit up and down, isn't it, recently? They just lost to Yeovil, who are playing quite well at the moment themselves.
Yeah.
They beat Kingsland 3-2 and drew 1-1 to Stockport. So, a win, a loss, and a draw in their last 3. Maybe it's an okay time to play them.
I hope so. They're, I mean, certainly they, like you say, that's a blow for them. I mean, midweek, wasn't it bizarre midweek that we got that wonderful result, and only one team above us won, and that was the Solihull in 8th. I mean, that was just crazy, wasn't it? So we got, we really sort of jumped up the table, at least in terms of where we were relative to teams above us. So, yeah, they lost home to Yeovil. You say Yeovil are in great form, but they're coming to the races on Tuesday. That should be interesting. Say hello to Adi Yusuf again, can't we? But, yeah, it's they're a proper test. The other thing is that, weirdly, I was looking at the table and realised that our goal-scoring record's identical to them. We've both played 16 games. We've both scored the same amount of goals, so we're equal third top scorers in the division between us. And we've both conceded the same amount of goals. We're equal sixth best defence. And I think maybe when you look at those stats, now they break down, you realise that this is a proper game against two sides who are serious about getting up there.
Oh yeah, and if we win on Saturday, it only takes us a point behind them. So that's a really tasty situation, isn't it? If we win this and say win our game in hand, it would jump us up all the way to third. So I don't think things are looking as glum as a lot of fans are making out.
Well, we need to... The trouble is the inconsistency, isn't it? I feel very happy with things in general, but I'd just like to see more consistency, both through 90 minutes and through a course of games. I mean, we've only won back-to-back games in the league once. We need to start doing that more and more. Man, if we could triple up and beat Halifax, Bromley and Yeovil in succession, I'd be feeling pretty good.
If we can win those two games, and then, your next two games are then Dover and Weymouth, which, without the biggest respects of both those sides, we should be beating Dover. The form they're in, the state of the club at the moment, we should be beating Dover. And, as we've said previously, and we didn't happen against Wealdstone, but if you are going to be making waves in trying to push a promotion, Weymouth at home is a tie that you look at and you think, yeah, we should be getting 3 points there.
Oh, Chay. No one ever said with the greatest of respect without then insulting the person they're talking about. Remember Wealdstone.
Again, but, you look at the Bromley game, you look at the quality of their side.
Yeah.
A draw would not be the worst result in the world.
It wouldn't, but we need, like you say, that statement home win.
Yeah.
It'd be fantastic if we get that and then go into the Yeovil game, which is another proper test. Trying to get 3 wins in a row against teams who are, in good form and are in or around us. I mean, that would just make our season look very, very different. It's I'm always reluctant when people talk about crunch games this early in the season, because I think the way we're just looking at their end shows there's a lot of time to go. You get little mini runs of fixtures, and if you can hit the ground running in those and get wins out of them, you suddenly change things around. And as you said, that this division is so competitive that you can gain a lot with a little run of form, I think, in this at the moment.
Yeah, and we have Christmas around the corner now, and come January, Christmas time, it's when the league usually starts shaping up to some sort of, who's going to be challenging, who's going to be going for playoffs, don't you, really? And we've got a good line of games coming up, and I think now's the time for Wrexham to really start stringing some wins together.
Let's hope so. We're going to have to at some point. So, but then, like I said, in January, Phil Parkinson reiterated again on Saturday he'll be bringing players in. The charter for fans that the independent inquiry this week again was suggesting caps. There's suggestions that there'll be salary caps in National League next year, as well as there being salary caps in the Football League, although the actual nature of them is not totally clear. So it might be wise.
Would salary cap be maybe like a financial fair play sort of thing?
Yeah.
So we produce quite a lot of money, though, don't we, coming in? So would that affect us?
True, but at the moment we have no rules stopping us, and therefore, if the owners want to pop a little bit extra in, this January might be the point to do it. If you want to make a couple of big statement signings that won't show up in the books. I'm not making this sound dicey. Come on, it's nothing dicey about it at all.
Cash in hand. Are we trying to say cash in hand?
But what Ryan's old and athletic, a little bit of cash in the pocket. I've had Keeler done back, son. That'll do me. Score a lot of goals in the League too. Bish, bash, bosh. Where it all comes from is a mystery. Like, changing the tides of the sea. Although we don't know what causes both the changings of the season and the tides of the sea. So in many ways, Only Fools and Horses was why I failed my geography GCSE.
Go on.
Because we do know why. All I put for those sections was it's a mystery.
I've never watched Only Fools and Horses. So...
You've never watched Only Fools and Horses?
Yeah, I have never watched Only Fools and Horses.
You Rodney Plonker. That is shocking.
Yeah, I probably do need to watch it, to be fair, but I was always more of a Father Ted sort of guy. So
I can't argue against that. But, you know, you got to, you know, when it comes to Only Fools and Horses, go on.
I will give it a go. I certainly will go.
Watch it from the start, though. Don't pick it up near the end. Watch it from the start. The early ones are the best ones.
Thank you very much.
I'd just like to put on record, actually, that obviously I didn't fail my GCSE geography because there was no such thing as a GCSE when I was in school. They were all levels. That's how old I am. And I got an A in geography anyway, so yeah.
Well,
I knew my soil types. I could tell you what what agriculture is best suited to the Po Basin. Believe me.
Just things that you really need in real life at all times. You know, really important things that you learn in geography.
Exactly. Yeah. And in Hartlepool, of course, because I was looking at a Hartlepool Mail, as I do, and they're quite keen on the idea that Gavin Holohan could come to us in January. I think there's a bit of imagination in this. What they're basically saying is that they understand that Dundee United and Shrewsbury both made firm inquiries at the end of the last transfer window for him, and that Wrexham and Stockport were interested, but they didn't necessarily get in touch. Now, that could be accurate, or it could be made up. Now they're saying they reckon he'll leave because he's got a release clause of £100,000. We have paid bigger fees than that this season. Having said that, he's out of contract next summer, and there's a bit of me thinks that £100,000 is an awful lot to pay for a League Two player just to get him 6 months early. So I'm taking that with a pinch of salt, but certainly Hartlepool Mail seem to be saying that.
I don't know how the business of football works. It's not really for me to comment, but one person who does know how the business of football works was Sean Harvey. Yeah. And that interview went down really well, didn't it? There's a lot of people who listened to that. Yeah,
it was good. I really enjoyed doing it, and it was lovely to see the feedback was very positive. And I think, to be fair, the main thing that came out of it was that he was never going to dodge any questions. He's a straight talker, and he was always going to take things head on. And that's exactly what he did. And I think people are satisfied by that. I mean, I found the same, with the commentary. If there's ever any problem with the commentary for whatever reason, the best thing to do is just tell the truth as quickly, clearly, and early as possible. And then people understand what the situation is and they'll deal with it. And I think Harvey handles things in that way too. And I think he got quite a lot of admiration, didn't he, from people for putting things straight, if you like.
And I think there was a lot of speculation going around the clubs, a lot of fans who had theories of things about what's going on. Yeah. And it was really nice to hear, a member of the top dogs in the club comes, answer the question so straight and so, here's my reason. It was really nice to hear, and it was a big thing, and I think it was needed, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. He squashed a few stories, didn't he, as well, really? And I think it was healthy then.
Let's hope in the future we can get Fleur and Humphrey in. It'd be nice for them to come on Dragonheart too.
Yeah, well, any of the great and the good want to come along, our doors are always open.
So that's it for the show this week. It's been a lot to break down. There's been a lot that's happening. We've had two really contrasting games in Wealdstone and Halifax, and let's hope we get that marquee win on Saturday against Bromley, Mark.
The marquee win for Mark. Yeah, that sounds good to me. I don't care how we do it, as long as we get it. That's all that matters.
But remember, everyone, follow Dragonheart on Twitter, Instagram, all that great stuff. The official Wrexham AFC Twitter, follow that. There's Match Centre if you can't go to the games on Saturday, there's also the live commentary from Wrexham player. So, yeah, keep your eyes on all those things if you can't make the match, unfortunately.
Spot on, absolutely. Let's hope we can do it on Saturday.
Yeah. This has been Dragonheart.